Welcome back. This is lesson 2 of week 11, and in this lesson we're going to review what happens during the fetch execute cycle, also called the instruction cycle. Remember that the processor is made of the control unit, the ALU, and the memory unit, or RAM. Data is passed around between the three parts of the processor on buses. This process is called the fetch execute cycle or the instruction cycle. Sometimes you'll see it drawn like this with just fetch, decode and execute, but more often you'll see this version with an additional stage where the result of the calculation is stored. All of these actions do happen during the fetch execute cycle, so I think this is a more accurate diagram. All the different parts of the fetch execute cycle happen in different parts of the computer. Fetch, if you look down in the bottom left here, fetch is where an instruction stored as a binary number inside RAM is passed down a bus from RAM to the control unit. Inside the control unit, the instruction is decoded. Remember that all instructions are stored as binary numbers. Binary numbers can represent all kinds of different things inside the computer, but if it's an instruction code, the control unit has to find out what the matching instruction is. It then sends that instruction in the form of an electronic signal to the ALU. The ALU is where the instruction is carried out, or we say executed. And then the result of that, let's say it's adding a number to the number that's already in the ALU. So we've got a new total. That new result will be sent down the bus back to RAM, where it is stored in a new location, probably. So we've got fetch, decode, execute, store happening in a big cycle inside the processor of the computer. It goes very fast, but exactly how fast? Well, signals are sent from the master clock inside the control unit. And the speed at which these pulses come out is called the clock rate. And the cycles of the fetch execute cycle are timed by the pulses of the clock. The clock is actually a crystal which vibrates at a very regular speed when electricity is sent through it. And those vibrations control these pulses of electricity that go spreading through the computer. So when we measure speed, we measure it in hertz. That's another person's name. And 1 hertz is once per second. But computer speed is measured in megahertz or even gigahertz. So we're talking about millions of pulses per second. Well, you knew computers were fast. Be aware that the instructions are passed around between the different parts of the processor on buses. I sometimes colloquially refer to the buses as wires. They're not solid wires. They're these channels that you can see that are conductive. And the numbers, when they're waiting to be decoded or executed or whatever, the numbers are stored in very small areas of memory called registers. And buses and registers can only hold one number at a time, but they're very, very close to the working parts of the actual circuits that do the job. So that speeds things up as well. So you should have a diagram in your notes of the fetch execute cycle and with notes next to each part of the cycle to say where each part takes place. If you want a challenge, you could create an animated version using any software that you're familiar with. That was a short lesson, wasn't it? But that's the basics that you need to know about the instruction cycle. Bye for now.